Hey Victory Life staff, if you're watching this, then you have been selected to be an approver in the Expensify system. So you should have just finished reading a section called Approving, Editing, and Rejecting Reports in Expensify. And I'm going to talk to you about a few things that will be a little bit different for us on how we're using the system. So number one, the guide talks about how you can reject individual line items from a report. We're going to ask that you do not do this because it actually kicks it out of the report and then they can't add it back in. They have to create a separate report. So it makes it a little more confusing. So if you ever needed to reject a line item, you can actually correct it on the fly yourself, or you would reject the entire report and send the whole thing back to them for them to edit it and to resubmit. So I'm going to show you how to do some of that. I'm going to walk you through the process from getting a report to approve all the way through approving it and show you the things you should be looking for as you do it. So I'm going to flip over to my screen in Expensify and let you see what that looks like. Once you log into Expensify, you should of course be brought to your inbox like you normally would. Now as an approver, you're going to have any reports that have been submitted to you show up here in your list of reports to approve. Now also, if you have configured your profile settings to let you receive emails, Expensify will also email you when you have a report out to approve. And if you don't know how to do that, you can always come up to your profile, click the down arrow and go to your account settings. And in your account settings, you can go to your preferences, scroll to the very bottom, and you're going to see email preferences. So here I have mine checked off to say yes, please email me with changes to my trips and reports, which would include submissions, approvals, rejections, forwards, and reimbursements. So as long as you have that turned on, anytime one of your submitters sends a report to you, you will also get an email to notify you that you have a report out to approve. But I'm going to go back to my inbox. So from here I can see the report that showed up for me to approve right here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Begin Review. And it's going to take me straight into the report, and it's going to take me into what it calls the guided review. Now, the guided review, you'll see this percentage bar up here. If you ever need to, you can always click this X to get rid of the guided review, and you're going to see the options up here of review, approve, or reject. And so again, if you click on review, it'll take you back into the guided review. If you click approve, this is where you can approve it and forward it to the next person in the approval line. If you have multiple approvers under you, you can reject it back to the last approver or reject it back to the employee who submitted it. I'm going to go ahead and click on the guided review again. So in here, you're going to see the first thing that pops up on each line is item 1 of 6 to review, and it gives you the options of view, approve, or reject. Now, let me talk to you about these real quick. If you click approve here, it makes you think it would approve just this line item, but what it actually will do is improve the entire report. So do not click approve at this spot. Also, where it says reject, this is where I'm going to ask you to not click reject either. So if you click reject, it actually kicks this line item out of the report, and the employee cannot reattach it to the report. You would have to reject this report, and they would have to reattach it to the report once it's back in their inbox. So again, don't hit approve or reject here. The only thing you should do is hit view, and this is going to let you see the details of everything they coded on the receipt, and including the receipt itself, which you can hover over or click on to see a full view of the receipt. So I want to take a moment here real quick to just talk to you about one important key in Expensify is that as an approver, you're responsible to help make sure things are coded correctly to their budgets. And I want you to know that in here, the locations, departments, projects, these in Intact have some restrictions on them so that you can't pick a department that's not available for a location or a project that's not available for that location. But I am unable to put those same types of restrictions in Expensify. So this is where the accounting department is going to need your help as an approver to make sure that people are coding to valid location, department, and projects. And the way you can tell is if you go look at one of your dashboards in Intact, you can always look at a cash report and it'll break down a department and then it'll also break down any projects that are available for that department to use. So hopefully you'll get used to those and kind of learn the valid combinations. But for instance, I could pick the Jubilee location and I could go pick a project building fund, which we don't actually have a building fund for something like Jubilee. So Expensify will do nothing to stop you from submitting it in this fashion. Intact would. So that's where I'll need you as an approver that you look at these and check, location is Jubilee, that's correct. Okay, departments general, that's correct. The project building fund, that should be a flag. You go, that doesn't look right. There's no building fund. It should be the Jubilee 2018 project. So that's where we'll need your help. So that's going to be one of your tasks as an approver, is to watch those things. We will also do as much as we can to watch that here in accounting to catch it. But what will happen is if an invalid coding like this comes through all the way to the end, when we try to submit this to get paid, Intact's going to reject it with an error message, and we'll have to kind of retrace back to you at that point to help us get it fixed. So if you can be intentional with that on the front end, that'll help us make sure that everything's coded correctly before we try to pay the bill. Now, a few things to note is as you're approving, you should be following the guidelines of the approver policy. And so things you're going to be looking for specifically is making sure that these items line up with your budgets for the area you're approving. So I can see that this was coded to Jubilee 2018, and hopefully as an approver I should already know about this expense and what it was for, but I can see their notes. This was for the setup team out at Jubilee, food for Saturday, and then I can also see the dollar amount. So you should double check that. So setup team food, I should make sure my category is correct so that it's expensed properly. So food, supply, expense, non-travel, which would be correct for that. You can see again on the receipt to make sure they have a detailed receipt. That's something you should check for. It's a very quick process. I can easily see that they have a detailed receipt right here. And then you can go ahead and move to the next expense to review it up here at the top. So 1 of 6, I'll go ahead and click on the next. So again, I'm going to be reviewing to make sure they have a detailed receipt. I'll check their comment. So this says volunteer food / snack. So again, is their expense match that? Yes, it does. Food supply. And did they code this correctly to Jubilee? So yes, those all look good. And is the dollar amount correct? And I can see yes, the dollar amount matches the total. So I'll move on. So you'll do that for each receipt. You'll thumb through them up here, make sure they have the detailed receipt, and then if all that looks good, you can hit the X. So some other things you should be looking for is scroll down, and you'll see that they should have the receipt thumbnails, and at the very, very bottom, they should have a document attached that is their credit card receipt. So click on that, and you can open it to make it full screen. I'd scroll down, and what I do is check the total. So $379.66. I'm going to be checking to make sure that their total report submitted matches that $379.66, and it does. So that should be one of those things that, again, immediately if these totals don't match, you should go ahead and reject the report and get it back to them to get it corrected. However, if at any point that you're reviewing these reports and you see a line item that maybe is coded incorrectly, you can do one of two things. You can either decide to reject the report and send it back to the submitter and have them make the correction, or you can correct it on the fly. So I could go ahead and say, let's say that this was actually a travel meal, and I could save this, and what it's going to do, it'll update it in real time, and then it's also going to put a note right down here under the report history and comments. You can see it says that you modified the expense to a new category, so food non-travel. So you can actually let Expensify keep a list of any changes you have to make, and then later when you have your weekly one-on-one with your employee, or maybe it's bi-weekly or monthly, but you can actually use this report history section to go over with them any items you had to change and let them know why. And that's going to be part of your ongoing training with your submitters, is to, if there is an error, to let them know what happened and why. But the fantastic thing is you can just edit it and then have it corrected and follow up with them later. So at that point, if you've reviewed the whole report, you can come up here and hit approve, and you would hit approve and forward. And what it'll do is Expensify is going to automatically fill in the next person in the approval chain. So generally, you might have one other approver above you, but the last person in the list will always be someone in accounting. So in this instance, it's Heather Hook Stratton who's going to do a final review of everything submitted. So it'll say approve and forward. You can hit approve, and then you will be done at this point. It'll send it off, and you can see that you're all done with this report, and you can move on to any next reports that you have outstanding waiting on your approval. So that'll cover everything you have to do as an approver in Expensify. Hopefully you saw it was pretty quick and easy. Always remember though, I was showing you on my desktop, you can always do this same process on your phone or tablet. You can, again, use the Expensify app. It'll have your inbox on there, so you can go in there and click approve, and you can review the line items. You can edit them on the fly just exactly the same way as I just did here, and then you can final approve on your phones or tablets. So it's a very quick, easy, and flexible system. Hopefully you'll find this to be much easier for you, much faster for you, and give you way more insight into expenses than you had in Intact, because now you can actually see copies of the receipts. If you have any questions, always feel free to email me or my team at accounts.payable@victorylifechurch.com, or you can reach out to me directly at cody.maynard@victorylifechurch.com. Thanks. Have a good day.